All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Growth Lounge, where we like to dive deep into some pretty cool ideas. Ideas that help us grow and level up.
Absolutely.
And listen, speaking of leveling up, we are tackling a big one today.
Okay.
Confidence.
Yeah.
You ever had that feeling where you need to feel a certain way before you go after a goal? Like, you need to feel super confident before you take that first step.
Yeah, you feel like you got to wait for it.
Exactly.
Go wait until everything's perfect, right?
Yeah, it turns out that is a myth.
Oh, really?
We're going to unpack it today.
Love it.
We're diving into an excerpt called The Confidence Myth.
Okay.
And, we really want to understand why waiting to feel confident could actually be holding us back.
Interesting. So you're saying it's like instead of confidence coming first, it's actually...
Not the other way around.
It comes later.
It comes after we take the leap, so buckle up because this is about to get interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, and before we dive in, make sure you're following us on Instagram. Check out the Uplift Space on YouTube.
Okay.
And hit subscribe on our Spotify program, The Growth Lounge, so you never miss a deep dive.
I love that. The Growth Lounge, keeping us all moving in the right direction.
Growing, learning, the whole thing.
That's it.
So, this idea of the confidence myth, it's something I think a lot of us struggle with.
I think so, too.
And I know from personal experience, I've definitely fallen into this trap.
Oh, yeah.
Of waiting to feel ready.
Yeah.
Or, waiting to feel like I have all the answers.
Like 100%. That have it all figured out.
Exactly, before I actually take action. And what's fascinating about this excerpt is that it talks about how this kind of thinking can actually lead to, get this,
Who's that?
Inertia.
Inertia, wow.
We get stuck. And the excerpt even uses this term, analysis paralysis.
Oh, analysis paralysis. I've heard that before.
Like we're overthinking everything, and we're not actually making any progress.
We're just stuck, huh? Totally stuck.
Spinning our wheels.
So I'm curious from your perspective, have you seen this play out in people's lives?
Oh, absolutely.
Like in real concrete ways?
It could be anything, really. I've seen people who, they want to start a business, they have this amazing idea, but they just keep researching, planning, and never actually,
Never take that first step.
never launch. It's like they're afraid of putting themselves out there.
Right, like they're waiting for that perfect moment. But the thing is, that perfect moment may never come.
It rarely does,
Right, and so we end up stuck in this perpetual loop of, I'll do it when.
When I feel more confident, when I have more experience.
Exactly.
When the time is right.
But that when never seems to arrive.
Yeah, it's a moving target. It's always just out of reach.
It really is. And what's even more interesting?
What's that?
Is that neuroscience actually backs this up.
Really? Tell me more about that.
So stepping outside of your comfort zone, even if you don't feel confident, it actually triggers these neural pathways that strengthen our self-efficacy over time.
So even if we don't feel confident initially, the act of taking action actually helps us build confidence.
Exactly.
It's like the maze.
Building a muscle. The more we use it,
The stronger it gets.
the stronger it gets.
I like that analogy.
So it's like a permission slip. Just go for it.
Just go for it, even if you don't feel totally ready.
Even when those self-doubts are whispering in your ear.
Which they always are.
Right. They're always there, aren't they?
Always learning.
But what happens when? Those doubts get really loud.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like they're screaming at you, telling you to turn back.
Yeah, how do we deal with that?
Well, that's where this idea of embracing vulnerability comes in.
Oh, vulnerability. That's a tough one.
It is tough for a lot of people. But the excerpt emphasizes that feeling nervous or uncertain, it's not a sign of weakness.
It's not.
No, it's actually a sign
Okay.
that you're stretching yourself, that you're stepping into the unknown.
So it's a good thing
A good thing.
to feel those nerves.
Yes, it means you're growing. You're pushing your boundaries.
I love that reframe.
I think a lot of us get tripped up by that word, vulnerability.
Yeah, it can feel scary.
It can feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Exposing,
Putting yourself out there.
Exactly.
Like everyone's going to see your flaws.
And so I think it's helpful to really break down what embracing vulnerability actually looks like in practice.
Yeah, what does that actually mean?
What does that actually mean? So for you, how would you explain that?
Well, I think it means being willing to show up imperfectly.
Imperfect.
To try new things, even if you might fail.
Oh, that's a big one.
It is, right?
That fear of failure can be so paralyzing.
It can.
But embracing vulnerability means being okay with that possibility.
Okay with not being perfect.
Exactly.
And, it also means asking for help when you need it.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because a lot of times we think we have to do everything ourselves. We have to have it all figured out.
Like we have to be the expert.
Exactly.
But that's not true at all.
It's not. It's actually a sign of strength to be able to say, hey, I need some support here.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm reminded of that quote by Rumi, "The wound is the place where the light enters you."
Wow.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It's so powerful.
It speaks to the idea that it's in those moments of vulnerability where we're really open to growth
Yeah.
and transformation.
So instead of resisting those feelings
Yeah.
of uncertainty or discomfort,
Huh?
we can actually view them as a necessary part of the growth process.
It's like a signpost, you're on the right track.
Exactly.
You're heading in the right direction.
And the excerpt doesn't just talk about the problem. It actually gives us some tools
Oh, nice.
for building self-belief.
Okay, so it's practical too.
It is.
What are some of those tools?
One technique that stood out to me is something called cognitive reframing.
Cognitive reframing, what's that?
It's about consciously challenging those negative thoughts,
Those thoughts that we all have.
the ones that creep in,
Yeah, those are the worst.
and replacing them with more empowering thoughts.
Oh, I like that. So instead of saying, I'm not good enough,
Hmm.
you might say, I'm learning and growing,
Yes.
and I'm committed to doing my best.
Exactly.
I love that. So it's like changing the script in our heads
Yes, changing the narrative.
from negative to positive.
And it's amazing how much of a difference that can make.
It really can.
Just that subtle shift in our internal dialogue.
I've definitely found that to be true.
What other tools does the excerpt suggest?
Well, another powerful technique is visualization.
Visualization.
Have you ever tried that?
I have. I've heard about it a lot.
It's really interesting, right?
Yeah, it's about imagining yourself successfully achieving your goal.
Like really seeing it,
Like really seeing it.
feeling it, and feeling it.
And the more detailed,
And sensory rich that visualization is.
the more your brain starts to believe it's possible.
Wow, so it's like we're tricking our brains
In a way, yeah.
into believing that we can do it.
And that can boost our confidence and motivation.
Yes, so powerful.
I can see how that could be helpful for something like public speaking,
Oh yeah, that's a great example.
or a big presentation.
You can almost rehearse the feeling of success in your mind
Exactly.
before you even step on stage.
You're already feeling that sense of accomplishment.
Exactly.
And that can really help to calm those nerves.
I'm gonna have to try that.
Oh, shit, it's really helpful. And let's not forget about celebrating those small wins.
Oh, the small wins are so important.
They're so important. It's easy to get caught up in striving for that big goal.
Like the end result.
Yeah, but acknowledging those smaller milestones along the way can build so much momentum.
It's like those little boosts of energy
Yeah.
that keep us going.
And it reinforces our belief in ourselves.
Because each small win is a piece of evidence that we're capable,
Yeah.
that we're making progress.
So it's like we're collecting these little pieces of evidence.
Like little trophies.
Exactly, to remind us
Yeah.
that we're on the right track.
I love that. So it's not just about the big wins, it's about recognizing and celebrating all those little steps along the way.
It's about the journey, not just the
It
destination.
makes the journey so much more enjoyable too.
Right, because we're not putting all of our happiness on that one end goal.
Mm.
We're finding joy in the process itself.
Absolutely.
So if we're wrapping this all up, confidence is not something we just magically find.
There's no magic involved.
No magic involved. It's a skill,
Okay.
a muscle we build
Yeah.
through consistent action,
Yeah.
embracing vulnerability,
Mm.
and using these tools
Yeah.
to shift our mindset.
I love that. So it's something we actively cultivate.
Exactly.
We're not just born with it.
It's a process, and it takes effort.
But it's so worth it.
It is so worth it.
Because when we have confidence, we can achieve anything.
Anything.
Well, almost anything. But it definitely opens up a world of possibilities.
It does, and I think that's
Is it-
the most exciting part.
It is. And here's something to think about.
Okay.
If confidence is something we build, can it also be chipped away?
Ooh, that's a good question.
What habits or mindsets might unknowingly undermine our self-belief over time?
I think that's something worth reflecting on.
Definitely. It's something I'm going to be thinking about.
And as always, we want to hear from you. What resonated most with you today? What actions are you inspired to take? Share your insights on social media. using hashtag the Growth Lounge. We would love to keep this conversation going.
Let's keep growing together.
Until next time, keep growing.